Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night's game had a little bit of everything. Early offense from the Tribe. Great defense from both teams. Another stellar Carlos Carrasco outing. Clutch hitting late and extra innings. And lots of them. Then we saw something we've only witnessed once before this year. It gets by Teixeira. Here comes Ramirez. Here's the throw. Indians win it. Michael Brantley delivers the game winner. From Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, the surging Cleveland Indians look to run their win streak to 4 straight as they take on the now sputtering New York Yankees. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Last night's game took a little over 5 hours. We played 16 innings, but it should come as no surprise that it was Michael Brantley who ultimately delivered the game-winning hit for Cleveland.
Well, since the All-Star break, Michael Brantley has been locked in. That sweet swing he has, it doesn't matter. He uses the whole field. He leads the league in doubles. And clutch hitting, he's been the Indians' best clutch hitter. That's the Indians' second walk-off hit of the year. Both of them coming against Eastern Division teams. And Michael Brantley, his third walk-off hit. Since the break, a .398 hitter. You can see that batting average is already up to .316, which is 6th best in the league. And his clutch hitting continues to go on, and the Indians thrive when they have to throw him strikes. He gets his hits.
Brantley not in the starting lineup tonight because the Yankees are throwing the big left-hander CC Sabathia at him. But, you know, you look at the Indians, and they've got Danny Salazar going, and in his last 7 starts, 6 times he's given up 3 runs or less.
Well, Danny has that nice combination going. It's a matter of establishing the fastball, keeping it out of the middle of the plate. Now, Danny gives up a lot of home runs, so it's going to be a test against this Yankee team. Can he get ahead of them? Can he throw that changeup? And can he keep them off balance? If he keeps the little guys off base, he'll be in tune. In his last 5 starts, 2-2, a 1.53 ERA. And CC Sabathia on the year, he struggled. A high ERA, he gives up a lot of hits. But in his career against the Indians, his former team, 4-1. But he's going to face all right-handed hitters tonight in that lineup.
I don't know if you heard this or not, but last night was the first time in the 17.5 years since Major League Baseball expanded to 30 teams that all 15 home teams won. We'll see if the Indians can keep that home cooking rolling tonight. When we come back, Andre Knott joins us to talk about the new atmosphere in the Tribe's clubhouse. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio.
going to score. We're tied at 4. Here comes Ramirez. Here's the throw. Indians win it. Dr. Smooth has been Mr. Clutch.
Well, it was an exciting night at the ballpark last night. Well worth the wait as the Indians beat the Yankees, their longtime nemesis from the Bronx, in 16 innings. And with that, I mentioned it last night, Terry Francona said over the weekend against Minnesota, with this club, the way it's constructed right now, maybe more of a team. And let's go down to Andre Knott for what's going on inside that Indians clubhouse.
You know, the main word that you keep hearing from players as well as the manager is the synergy and energy that's working amongst the team. Now, Terry Francona said something very interesting today. He goes, look, at the end of the day, if guys aren't taking right-handed turns when they're out there hitting the ball, then the energy is going to be different. But when you get hits and guys are feeling good about themselves, it's a lot easier to feel good about yourself and your teammates.
You know, we've been fighting all year to try to, get a personality or identity, however you want to say it. And then all of a sudden we got a bunch of new guys, and we seem to kind of be finding it. And they played with enthusiasm the whole night, even when it would get frustrating, just kept playing and having fun doing it. And it makes it really nice for us.
Well, let's be honest, guys. The other thing that's changed here is the pressure amongst the guys that are on the team. You've got guys that have moved on, and some of the guys feel like they're not in it. And I think with some of the new guys, look, this is an opportunity for them to get a job in the major leagues. How can you run from that situation?
Well, you really can't. I mean, that is a lot of fun. The energy has been great since Friday night when Minnesota came. There's Andre's fan club right there.
I was going to say, people are, well, what are you running from?
Yeah, he's running from the law. I'll tell you, but it has been a lot of fun. Well, look, one thing we know, Matt, the pitching has been outstanding for these guys. The starting pitching is second to none. So they have been great. They keep them in ball games. And right now I think these kids and the guys that are getting opportunities believe that, if they can score or get a hit here or there, they're right in it. And it showed last night in the 16 innings. We've been through a lot of extra inning games, but 16 innings, it didn't seem boring. The pitching was right there, and there was, a lot of movement to it. Even though nobody scored, it was still entertaining.
It was a well-played game. I mean, anytime you have good defense, you've got good pitching, you get clutch hitting, that's entertainment. And I think that's why we got messages from a lot of people who stayed up and stayed all the way through it. They watched that game till the end last night because it was thoroughly entertaining. And it's always sweeter when you're an Indians fan when your team comes out on top.
Absolutely.
Well, let's see if Danny Salazar can keep that momentum for the Indians. He takes the hill tonight. Let's look at the lineup he will face for Joe Girardi's New York Yankees tonight. Brett Gardner moves into the leadoff spot. Jacoby Ellsbury has the night off. Chase Headley will bat second. He came on as a pinch hitter and finished last night's game. Alex Rodriguez will DH. Then it's Mark Teixeira, Brian McCann, and Carlos Beltran. Didi Gregorius. Chris Young gets the start in left field, and Stephen Drew will bat ninth.
And tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher, 25-year-old Danny Salazar, making his 21st start, his very first start against the New York Yankees. But he has pitched well against the American League East clubs this year. He's 2-0 and a 1.23 ERA. He's been very good in his last 5 starts, a 2-2 record, and a 1.53 ERA. He's got that combination. Locate your fastball. He can throw it by a lot of these hitters. And if you can keep the table setters off base, you're going to be just fine, a lot like Carrasco did last night. So, Danny, the Yankees are going to get their first look at you, throw zeros on the board until that offense can score. Let's set the defense behind him tonight. It looks like this. It's brought to you by Jeep. Aviles in left, Almonte in center, Sands in right. Urshela at third, Lindor at short, Ramirez at second, Johnson at first, Perez behind the plate. All right-handed hitters tonight going to be facing CC.
David Rackley has the plate tonight. Crew chief John Hirschbeck is at first, Marvin Hudson at second, Bob Davidson down at third. Our window system's game time temperature once again ideal at game time. 73 degrees, a very light breeze, negligible at best. Might be blowing in at times. Indians and the Yankees ready to go here at Progressive Field. New York's in a tough spot. They've lost 4 in a row, and they've watched their lead in the AL East shrink to a half game over Toronto. Blue Jays just underway at home against Oakland.
Yeah, they have to fight their way out of this, and they realize that they are in a dogfight right now because they're not scoring runs, because the top their table setters, Ellsbury and then Gardner, are struggling, and Ellsbury's not even in the lineup tonight.
The line of the first pitch is in there for strike one to Gardner, who went 0 for 6 in last night's game. On July 28th, the Yankees led Toronto by 7 games in the AL East. That's how fast things can change. And look, it may be a ridiculous long shot, but Jason Kipnis said it the other day. He said, we're not looking at this being a lost cause, just playing out the string. Sure, we're under 500, but we get hot, we can make a run and still have a chance at the wild card. Is it plausible? Maybe not, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Now, before you start talking wild card, you got to get to that 500 mark. And they have a lot of work to do.
Well, it helps by winning 3 in a row. It gets you started in the right direction. That's slapped fouled on the left side. It's just, I think what it has caught everybody sort of by surprise is that they're doing this with all of these new faces that no one thought would be on this roster at the beginning of the season.
Well, look at tonight. There's one guy that's in the lineup, and he's not even in the playing field. He's DHing tonight for the Indians that started the year here, when you think about it.
Gardner swings and misses in the dirt. Perez throws him out, 1 away. Our keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Danny Salazar, keep the Yankees speedsters off the bags and see if you can get an early lead on CC Sabathia. The Indians struck early last night.
And they did a good job of handling the guys that set the table for him, too.
They did. In fact, what was really amazing last night, maybe amazing is a little strong, but what the Indians pitchers did so well is the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the Yankee lineup went combined 1 for 25.
Yeah.
Now that may say,
well, you do that, and you figure it's a slam dunk win, But they ended up having to go 16 innings to get the win because they only scored 2 runs. But that's a terrific job against a second scoring, highest scoring team in the league.
Close pitch, and it's just outside. 3-0 to Chase Headley. Headley, a switch hitter, came on last night as a pinch hitter and delivered, I should say, a big hit for New York.
Yeah, with the bases loaded. His numbers are phenomenal with the bases loaded.
And Headley will take a walk with 1 out here in the first. Of the Yankees' struggles of late, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not scoring. I mean, you can pin it straight on top of the fact that the offense has just kind of disappeared recently. Joe Girardi succinctly summed it up. He said, quote, after last night's game, it's baseball. That's it. Look, if you're ready to give up, then give up. Yeah. Me, I'm not ready to give up yet.
They're still in first place. They have a half a game lead. We knew from the start of the year, and I think everybody else did. That's why that's into the seats. People, I mean, you win one game. You can't jump on a bandwagon when you win one, you win two, you get on it. We knew the East was going to be wide open from the get-go. If New York and Boston, they don't dominate all year long, then it's wide open. And Toronto realized that. They're seizing the opportunity. That's why they did a lot before the trading deadline. And it seemed to work for them because they've won 9 straight. But, hey, there's still a long way to go.
At the start of the day, 4 teams within 5 games of each other. No division more hotly contested in baseball. One ball, one strike. Wow.
Take a look at this pitch on our Nissan pitch tracker. That's down below the knees. Just get that up a little bit and you're in pretty good shape.
Popped out of play.
We've seen Danny before where he comes out and it takes him a little bit, like any starter, to get comfortable. Right now he's trying to find that release point, locate his fastball before he gets into a rhythm. And you can see in the first 3 innings, a 2.55 in the middle frames, that's where his ERA goes up.
The 2-2. Right back to him, and it gets by him. Backhanded by Ramirez to Lindor. There's one on to first. Double play! Oh, a spinning pirouette by Lindor, and he's able to turn 2 anyway. The Indians are out of the inning. Now they're coming to bat. Jose Ramirez will lead it off. Then it's Francisco Lindor. Chris Johnson will bat third. Carlos Santana in the cleanup spot, followed by Jerry Sands. Giovanni Urshela is sixth. Abraham Almonte, Roberto Perez, and Mike Aviles round out the all right-handed hitting lineup tonight for Cleveland.
CC Sabathia is our Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher for tonight's ball game. CC making his 26th start. He's 4-8. New York is 10-11 in his 21 starts. He's given up a lot of hits in his 123 innings, 146 hits, 24 home runs.
First pitch strike into Jose Ramirez. Jose last night went 3 for 8 and scored the game-winning run.
Well, he's been a spark plug at the top part of Terry's lineup.
Breaking ball outside.
CC, a guy now that doesn't throw quite as hard as he once did, so he has to rely on command and changing speeds. And that changeup has to be a big pitch, and that back foot slider. There you'll see it at 88 miles an hour, 89.
Now a 1-2 offering. Missed way outside with it.
CC is 2-5 on the road this year in his 12 starts. This is his 8th consecutive start following a Yankees loss.
Pulled his hands in nicely, and he's going to punch it into left field for a base hit. Jose Ramirez aboard to start the night for Cleveland.
Now let's see how the first inning ended, and it was a tremendous double play here. Look at Ramirez get all the way over to the shortstop side, flip it over Lindor, tags the bag and flips it to get A-Rod for the double play. How sweet was that? Really nicely turned by those two.
That was a thing of beauty.
That was their 100th double play turned on the year as well.
Lindor showing bunt, takes ball 1.
Well, since this lineup has been around, he's been doing this a lot when Ramirez is on, is moving him over in the first inning, early in the ball game, trying to get the first run. And it's really paid off, and it's paid dividends for the Indians. So I'm not sure Terry's putting this on. I'm thinking Lindor's doing this all on his own.
Underhand flip, close play, and they just got him, barely. Wow. I think Teixeira almost had second thoughts as that ball left his hand. He might be thinking, I should have overhanded it. But in the end, he does execute the play.
Sometimes you don't know the speed of the player that's running, and it's really the first time that they've seen Lindor. Only the second game. It gets him by a half a step. But sacrifice, well done.
Now Chris Johnson. Talk about making yourself right at home. Chris Johnson, 7 for 9 as an Indian. Take strike 1.
You know, Indians lead the league in sacrifice hits with 33. Far and away more than anybody.
Johnson went 4 for 4 in his first start as an Indian on Sunday, and then last night went 3 for 4 at the plate. He had a pinch hit appearance prior to all of that. The 0-1 checked on a ball. No, they called a strike. 0-2. Chris Johnson with Carlos Santana to follow here in the first. Indians trying to get on the board first. Out of play. You made mention of it last night with Johnson. His fastball approach is to take the ball to the opposite field. But
yeah,
with that breaking ball, if you miss, he'll hammer it to left field.
Yeah, he can turn on it. He can pull it. He's got the swing where he tries to take it up the middle the other way, and that's why CC went inside with the fastball there, and you fight it off. See, CC doesn't throw as hard as he once did, and you're able to fight off some of those pitches inside. There's the swing at the fastball and just take it the other way. But when you continually foul off a pitcher's fastball and he can't put you away, eventually you should get a pitch to hit. Cleveland on this homestand, they've hit over 400 with runners in scoring position, so they've done a tremendous job, something they haven't done all year.
The 0-2 bounced well in front of the plate.
See, now he's got to go to his off-speed pitches when you start falling off the fastball, and they're a little tougher to control than the heater. This is way out in front of the plate, where McCann does a nice job to stop it.
Up and away. And now the count is 2-2.
That was another breaking ball right there. I want to see what he throws here on his. Oh, it's 2-2. I was waiting to see 3-2. I think a lot of times he'll go with that changeup. There it was. That's his bread and butter pitch when he gets to it and he has to throw a strike. It comes down to that changeup. So he gets his first strikeout. Let's check out that Yankees defense, which is brought to you by Jeep. Young gets the start in left field. Gardner moves to center and Beltran over in right. Headley at third, Gregorius at short, Drew is at second, Teixeira at first, McCann doing the catching.
Carlos Santana swings and fouls it off. Man, he cuts and misses at a fastball. Looked like it had a little movement away. Just kept it on the outside part of the plate. Santana pulling off of it. And now he's in the hole 0-2.
Well, normally you can't get a fastball by Santana, but CeCe got one by him at 91.
Now the 1-2 offering. Santana pops it in the air. Center field. Gardner makes the grab. So the Indians can't take advantage of the leadoff single, and after one, no score.
MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Mark Teixeira will lead off the second for New York. Teixeira went 0 for 6 last night. Tied for 5th in the American League in homers with 30. Tied for he is currently 5th in RBIs with 77. And, you know, he's always had a good discipline, if you will, at the plate. He's 4th in the league in walks with 57.
He's been a good hitter for a long time and a good first baseman. Last few years he's had some injuries. He's only one of 4 active major leaguers right now with at least 9 seasons of 30 home runs or more. A-Rod's in it, Pujols, and also Miggy. That's a lot of homers. That's consistency.
And I don't think there's any question that predominantly he sees a lot of right-handed starters in at Yankee Stadium with that short porch in right field.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that is a bandbox, but it always has been.
Wow, great pitch by Salazar. He pulled the string on Teixeira for his 2nd strikeout of the night.
Well, when you watch the sequence here to Teixeira, there's the fastball. He had a nice rip at on the first pitch. Changeup. Let's go. Was that another heater? And then changeup. And he's going to get him on the changeup. When he locates that changeup down, boy, it really goes down because he holds it with that split grip, as you all know if you've watched.
Brian McCann with an 0-1 count takes the ball in the dirt to even it up.
I think that's the pitch that really made Danny this year because his fastball has been so good. A lot of times last year we try the slider or the curveball, but it's been the fastball changeup, and now he just mixes in the breaking ball.
Fly ball hit deep right field. Sands going to watch this one leave the yard. Brian McCann with home run number 19 on the year, and the Yankees take a 1-0 lead.
Well, and that's the Yankees offense right there. You make a mistake, they can hit you out of the yard. McCann does. Hits his 19th homer, and he caught a fastball down in the zone. And this one you just had to watch. Gave him a little swinging room. Salazar knew it. The Yankees are going to play from in front.
17th given up this year by Danny Salazar. And Carlos Beltran will step in. He hit one of the Yankees' 2 solo homers in last night's game. Bottom of the strike zone, 1-1. Low, 3-1. And it's low again. So after the homer, he walks Beltran on 5 pitches.
Yeah, already his 2nd walk.
Let's go down to Andre Knott.
A couple of interesting things on Danny Salazar, guys. Last night, he was in the bullpen in the 16th inning. And basically, Terry Francona told him mentally get prepared to go out there if we go 17, 18 innings. So he went through that last night because it was his 5th day and it was his day to throw. The other thing is he's coming off 5 straight quality starts. And I know we've been talking about the changeup, guys. Last 2-3 starts, he has not thrown it a lot. He's told me he hasn't really had a good feel for it. It's been a lot of 2-seamers, 4-seamers from Danny Salazar the last couple games.
Oh, my. That one is crushed. Sands drifting back on the track, and this one comes back into play. Dan Gregorius is out number 2. Off the bat, Rick, I thought that one was going to end up the same spot McCann's did.
Well,
but he might have popped it just enough.
That's a little man hit it. The shortstop, not a home run hitter. But he does put a good swing on this ball, and it's right down the middle. But you see, he's not one of those big thumpers. That's in the middle
like
part of the lineup.
A little bit off the end.
But that was middle of the plate. That's just a warning. That's one that Danny can say, boy, okay, I better make a better pitch than I just did.
So with 2 down, Chris Young, the batter.
You know, you look at Salazar this year, he's made 8 starts. This is his 9th start here in his home park. He's 4-2, 3.42 ERA, has pitched well. Well, sort of fighting himself to throw strikes. He's not in that groove yet, where everything he's got a feel for everything.
Back out of play, evens the count at 2-2. Swung on and missed. Danny Salazar strikes him out to end the inning. He fans a pair, giving him 3 on the night, but Brian McCann's solo shot has New York on top 1-0.
Tomorrow night we will close out the series against the New York Yankees, and it will be Dollar Dog night again. All night tomorrow, as we will close up this homestand before we head on the road. Get your hot dogs that were voted best in baseball. Go to Indians.com for your tickets.
Jerry Sands going to lead off here in the second inning for Cleveland. CC Sabathia into the windup. And he misses low ball 1. A lot has been made, going back to his days in Cleveland, about CC Sabathia's weight. It always seems to be a subject of conversation among fans, among scouts, people who watch the big left-hander pitch. A couple of years ago, he showed up at camp, and people did a double take. He was so thin, he lost a lot of weight. And at that time, he said he had had a cousin who had died from heart disease, and so he did it because of that. Just plain and simple. He felt like, hey, man, I don't want to go that way. Popped him up on the infield. Sands will be quickly out number 1. But then all of a sudden, then people said, well, he lost all that weight. That's why his fastball velocity's down. Yeah. It's like, come on, people. Give the guy a break.
Well, I remember, we go back. CC was a rookie, the Indians' #1 draft pick. What a treat it was to watch him come up to the big leagues and win 17 games his first year. And he didn't know better, but he'd rear back and just throw his fastball on a little breaking ball, and he was fun to watch. And he was always, he never fielded his position well because he wouldn't cover first base, but boy, could he pitch. And he was a horse, and he would give you the innings. And right now is where they need him like CC of old, to stop losing streaks.
Yeah.
That's what he's paid for. But his stuff is not what it once was. With all the innings that he has pitched coming out of that arm, as I mentioned, it's all about command and control right now, but it doesn't change his desire and his will to win. He wants to win. You know, they're trying to give him extra rest when they can, and now he'll take it. Before, he would pitch on 3 days rest when he went over.
In Milwaukee.
You know, when he went into Milwaukee, they pitched him on 3 days rest to get him into the playoffs.
No one's ever questioned his desire, his ethic, you know, as far as his approach to the game. When you say take the ball, he takes the ball.
He would take the ball, and he still will.
And the thing about losing all the weight last year is he had the knee injury, and that derailed his season. And then he came back to camp this year, and he showed up, and reportedly he was over 300 pounds.
Well,
and he said, look, I feel comfortable. He's a big man, though. He can carry that weight.
He's been 300 his whole career, so why not stay that way? Don't change now.
3 balls and a strike to count on Giovanni Urshela. Fouled back. But you talk about, you know, he gets paid a lot of money to stop losing streaks. He gets paid more than $20 million a year.
Yeah. That's what starting pitchers get nowadays, number ones. They get that. That's the going rate. What's Verlander get, 28?
Yeah.
You know, what's Kershaw get? You look at all of them. And you know what? The same thing may happen to Verlander.
Up the middle, a diving stop by Gregorius. Throws, not in time. Gio just barely beat it out on another terrific defensive effort.
Well, they're going to take a look at it. They're going to look at their replay and see if it was the proper call. It was a great play by Gregorius to get up at short. I mean, he really had to extend out, gets up as quickly as he could. I'll tell you what, they may have a legitimate beef. I think they're going to go to the headsets and review this, because I think from that angle they may have gotten him. That's good. Boy, that's going to be close. What a play. Tremendous effort all the way around. Urshela rushing. He's out. They're going to overturn this, I believe.
I think you're probably right based on
From
what we've
that
seen.
angle right there made it look like he had him, because I don't think that foot was on the base. Not that angle. I like the other one we just showed, but they're going to take a look at it, and we'll see. He was called safe, so they're going to have evidence to overturn it.
I'll say this much, not every angle is conclusive.
No, that's true.
It seemed like with a different angle, you have a different opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, while they talk this over, Rick, Sabathia's first 4, well, they got a quick decision. Here we go. That didn't take long at all.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And they do overturn it.
Okay. Hirschbeck was the first base umpire. He's the crew chief. Call is overturned, and it looked like it from that one angle. So a very good play by Gregorius. I mean, he gets up, he fires a seed, and it's, again, another nice pick by Teixeira on the backside. So there's the angle I think they used, where that ball was in the glove, and the foot of Urshela is just coming down on the bag. It doesn't get much closer than that.
Yep.
That's what you call a bang-bang play.
And with 2 down, Abraham Almonte the batter.
But I really do. I enjoy replay. I like it. To get the calls right. I wish they would have had it when I played.
Well, they would have had to have more games on TV.
Well, that's true. Well, yes, I know. That's obviously why they. First of all, they would have had to have TVs.
They didn't even have replay back then. You didn't have instant replay.
Didn't even have tapes. They had cameras like in the Flintstones. Let's go. They were pounding it out on rocks.
The 1-1 pitch. Back then, you have to watch a ballgame. You have to pound the side of your TV set to get the picture to come in clear. Come on, what's wrong with this thing?
Either that or have the kids holding the rabbit ears with the aluminum foil on them. There's the pitch right there that CC hasn't been able to hit with, so you can take that out of his game right now, that backdoor slider. You know, if he can hit with that pitch, then that sets up his fastball a little bit better if I'm a hitter.
1-2-3 go the Indians. here in the second. 1-0 New York. Tick, 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 tick. Last night, the first time that all 15 home teams won. Obviously, you couldn't have 15 home teams until we expanded to the point where you could have 15 teams playing at home.
That's still amazing, isn't it? Everybody at home winning. A rarity.
I think I read somewhere where they calculated the odds of that happening, and it's like 1 in 30,000 or some ridiculous.
Okay.
So it is rare.
Well, 1 in 30. I would think it would be more than that because you got a better chance of winning the lottery when you only get, 5 or 6 numbers. And you win millions. So out of 30,
well, and I think
15 would have to win at home, right?
I think
so
there
15.
were 4 teams that won by walk-off. So teams like the Indians, they
had to wait for us.
Yeah. Were we the last game going last night, or was
It was
there one
pretty
on the
close.
West Coast still playing?
I think there was one on the West Coast, maybe the Giants.
Well, I know the Orioles and Mariners went extra innings, and that was the final game of the night. Swung on and missed. And down goes Stephen Drew for out number 1, 4th strikeout for Salazar. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick, earlier today, Hisashi Iwakuma became the second Japanese-born pitcher in Major League history to throw a no-hitter. It's also the first in the American League since 2012 when King Felix did it for the Mariners with his perfect game. Seattle a winner today, 3-0, guys.
How about that? Back-to-back for the Seattle Mariners, coming to no-hitters in this league.
Baltimore slipping just a game over 500 now. And their pitching has really taken on a lot of water. Kevin Gausman did fine today, but their starters have really hit the skids for the O's. And then obviously that puts more strain on the bullpen.
Yes, it does. Would you have 5? They haven't pitched 5 innings or less in what?
5 times in the last 13 games now. Their starters have only gone 5 innings.
Yeah, so that bullpen has been getting a lot of work. And the Yankees have gone, let's see this.
Little man hit it.
There you go. Big part of the ballpark. The Yankees starters, 14 starts. They haven't gone 7 innings. A starter in their last 14.
Which is why Joe Girardi said after last night's game their bullpen is exhausted right now. There's Iwakuma, fourth no-hitter this year. And, of course, remember, we came within one strike of a no-hitter.
Yes,
when,
we did.
Carlos Carrasco lost his in Tampa. Ground ball. Lindor couldn't get it. Ramirez does, and his throw is in time to retire Headley. And the Yankees go 1-2-3. 8 pitches for Danny Salazar. We go to the bottom of the third. Yankees 1-0 over the Tribe. Time brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third, and it will be Roberto Perez, Mike Aviles, and Jose Ramirez for Cleveland. You know, when you talk about long-term contracts, committing to a player, in particular starting pitcher, for a period of more than 4 years, let's say, you run the risk of what's happened for Sabathia and the Yankees. The first 4 years, he was an elite pitcher, not a good pitcher, an elite pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He went 74-29 in his first 4 years with the Yankees with a 3.23 ERA.
There you go.
One of those years he was 21-7. 2 of those years he was 19-8 both times. But over the last 3 years, the effects of age, the innings, and injury have caught up. And in the last 3 years, including this season, Rick, CeCe's 21-25 with an ERA of 5.13.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? When you talk about other pitchers that sign 5, 6, 7 year contracts, what happens if they have Tommy John? You're losing them for 2 years anyway. You know, so it's a risky business when you pay that kind of money, especially if they can't help you or they're out. At least he's gone out there and pitched and hasn't had the surgery.
Well, he only made 8 starts last year, though, because he had the knee.
Yeah.
But, look, that's inherent risk that every team understands when you enter into a long-term agreement. But, boy, when you get into the kind of length that some of these guys are looking at contract-wise,
right.
Wow, it's an enormous amount of risk.
You're going to end up losing, I think, eventually, especially with a pitcher, because there's only so many bullets in their arm.
Avila shoots one to right center field. Gardner on the run makes the grab. He's got terrific speed, and he took a great route to that ball off the bat of Aviles.
Yeah, very good closing speed on that one. Aviles has good numbers against CeCe. Hit it well. Gardner outruns it.
Let's go down to Andre Knott with more on CC.
Well, as you guys talk about the rest in his body, I got a quote from CC yesterday. He says, "I hated the rest before, but just to get my body in order right now, I'll take whatever rest they'll give me. But if they don't have the time for me to rest," he goes, "I'll take the ball." That hasn't changed about him. And talking to Tito Francona, he goes, "You know what? I've watched CC pitch for it seems like 20 years." He goes, "He doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he still knows how to get guys out." The reason why there's so many righties in the lineup, they're hitting .326 with 21 home runs versus CC this season.
Yeah, right. 21 out of his 24 homers. He's been tough on lefties. But you know what you call that? You call that old age. You know, you hit 30 and you pitch as much as CC's pitched in his life. You know, it catches up with you. Every athlete. Unfortunately, like you said, the first 4 years of that deal, he earned his money.
Boy, did he ever.
But they have to pay for it because that's what you're paying for, the 74 wins that he had in his first 4 years. It's the young kids that come up and you think you have them where you want them, but you can keep them under control.
Well, Jose Ramirez had a base hit his first time up, and now he's got the count tilted in his favor, 3-1.
See, CC's trying to prey on aggressiveness right there. 2-1 count. You think you're getting a fastball. He throws a changeup away. You have to remain patient and do what Ramirez did in his first at-bat. Force him to come inside and try and throw that fastball by you, and you're ready for it. See, he had one right there, 3-1. That was a fastball. It was at 89. They wanted it in. He didn't get it in there. That's the pitch you have to look for, and when you get it, you have to hit it.
1 on 1 out, Ramirez with a full count. Roberto Perez, the runner at first, held there by Teixeira. And the payoff pitch is fouled on the right side.
As we were talking, Tommy ended up looking up CC's innings. He's got 2,946 innings in that arm. That's a lot of pitching.
Yeah, and he's under contract through next season with a vesting option for 2017. Again, a 3-2 hit in the hole. Off the glove of Headley and by Gregorius. Perez trying to go to third. The throw spiked into the ground, backed up by Sabathia, and now Ramirez gets into scoring position on the play.
That was great hustle by the catcher, who's average runner, Perez. But he forced Young to try and make a good throw after it was deflected by Headley, and it got by Gregorius, and Young spiked it right into the ground. That was a heads-up base running play by a catcher that can't run. That's heads up. That's being a good base runner with average speed. And he forced the defense. Watch, he's going one way, come across his body, spikes it in the ground. But that enabled Ramirez to go to second base. So you take the double play out of order. And now the Indians with a great opportunity to score.
Francisco Lindor, sacrifice bunt his first time up. Swings and fouls it back. So the tying run at third, go-ahead run at second for Cleveland here in inning number 3. Lindor last night went 3 for 8 and scored twice.
At the corners, they'll come home.
Outside, he missed 1-1.
Ramirez, look, he was going to stop until he sees it go. He spikes the ball. Attaboy, make your own decision. Keep your head up, your eyes on the baseball. You be your own coach. Got himself into scoring position. Well done.
Now the 1-1. Pulls it foul.
Yeah, the changeup. The aggressiveness, that's what he's going to prey on the young hitters of the Indians. He will not give in. Now with 2 strikes, it'll probably be a show fastball if he throws one. or he can stay right with his off-speed pitches.
Shoots it to right, but slicing foul.
It's all right. I like the approach. Put it in play. This is a breaking ball away, and he's just going to protect. That's what he's in. Protect mode. You have runners in scoring position. You don't have to pull it. Just put it in play. Fouled it off into the seats, and McCann wants to go out and talk to Sabathia.
Interesting right now, you look at CC Sabathia. His first year in the big leagues was 0-1. He turned 21 that season. And now here he's facing 21-year-old Francisco Lindor, just starting his career. And this Sabathia now in the twilight of his terrific run that began here with the Indians. It's one of those really neat things about baseball, how the past and the future tend to intertwine and collide at times.
Well, the great thing is we watched him grow up as a 21-year-old. Now we're watching this kid. And it looks like he's going to spend some time in the big leagues if he continues to grow.
Well, he certainly doesn't play or act like a 21-year-old. He certainly has a baseball maturity, if you will. He's going to make mistakes, and he's going to make plays that he'll learn, but he's got a savvy about him that you don't find in a lot of young players.
Well, he's settled into the number 2 hole in this lineup, that is for sure.
Big spot for the young man right here. The 2-2 pitch. Outside and a full count.
There you go. He's settled down now. When he got to 2 strikes is when he sort of gave in and said, okay, remain patient. I'm thinking changeup here. Came with the fastball. Yeah, high fastball. Still a tough one to hit. I don't know if it was a strike, but it was up there.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat. Low, ball 4.
Nice at bat. He's looking in. Second walk from Sabathia. That's a tough one to take. Let's take a look at it. They're going in. Down. Wow. Tough to take. Tough to take. That was borderline, but it looked low. So Lindor gets the walk. He'll go to first base. Indians bases loaded.
And Chris Johnson will be the batter. Johnson struck out his first time up. But he's in a key spot now with the bags juiced and 1 out here in the 3rd.
On this homestand, they've struggled all year with bases loaded. They are 3 for 5.
Yeah, their team batting average is up to 155. It was around 129.
Yeah, it was down. They're 3 for 5. They need one here. They have their share of sacks. They have their share of walks. We want to see their share of hits.
Boy, was that a good pitch by Sabathia. He really ran it in on Johnson, 1-1.
Down and in, he might have helped him out. But that's a tough pitch to lay off. Yeah, that was out of the strike zone. He was looking for it all the way and helped him out.
Missed inside with it, 2-1. Chris Johnson has solid numbers in bases loaded situations. Couple of slams. Sabathia in a lengthy inning now thanks to the 2 walks. The 2-1 took something off, and Johnson
Out in front, preying on the hitter's aggressiveness right there.
Yeah, you get that count in your favor as a hitter. You still have to make him throw strikes. Sometimes you want to do it so badly, and he's struggling in this inning. You got to take advantage of him right here.
Oh, he missed with his location right there and got away with it. Watch where the catcher McCann sets up. Look, watch where he wants this pitch.
He wants it back in, down and in.
That's not where it ends up.
No, he made a huge mistake, but that goes to show you as a hitter or as a pitcher, you can miss your location like that, and hitters sometimes can't take advantage of it.
The 2-2. That's hit the third. They'll go to second for one, on to first, and inning-ending double play. Sabathia gets out of it as the Yankees turn two, and they maintain a 1-0 lead.
The Progressive Field. It's the $13 district tickets, and they are presented by Sports Time Ohio. They are going quickly, so get yours today. Tickets available only at Indians.com.
Alex Rodriguez will lead off here in the fourth for New York. Yankees up 1-0. Center field. Back is Almonte. Shy of the track. One away. How long do you suppose the sixth inning was for the Boston Red Sox today down in Miami? They were playing the Marlins, and Miami hung a 10 spot on the Red Sox in the sixth inning.
Got to double digits, huh?
Ouch.
Yes. A 10 spot. Well, that reminds me of the game we were talking about maybe 2 weeks ago down in Texas. The Rangers come out and scored, 5 in the bottom half of the first, and the Yankees came up and scored 11 in the top half of the second.
That's right.
The
Remember
game
that?
they scored 21 runs.
And that was where their offense
They didn't
stopped.
hit a home run. But,
They got on that big run. They scored there, and I think they might have scored in the first game at Chicago, and then
right.
poof.
You said yes.
Fouled back. Hey, with apologies to JT, I think it's Real Muto, not 100% sure.
a rookie from Miami. He drove in 6 runs for the Marlins, including 5 in the 10th-run 6th inning.
Wow. What an inning. What a game.
14-6 was the final in that ball game. John Farrell was back in the dugout after he missed last night's game coming back from hernia surgery.
He should have stayed in there today.
Probably wishing he would have. 2 down as that ball was smashed, but right into the path of Urshela. And Teixeira did the same thing to Jose Ramirez last night. Stole a line drive from him by just being in the right place at the right time. Our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Last night, the 9th walk-off win in the 16th inning or later for the Indians since 1914. Doesn't happen very often.
Well, 16-inning games don't happen very often.
Yeah, you are correct.
Second win against the Yankees in the 16th at 1914. Unbelievable.
The Indians did it in 2011 against the A's. Jack Hanahan drove in the game winner. Before that, 1995, you remember that game, the 17-inning affair against Minnesota.
Yes.
That ball smoked to left center. Into the gap. Aviles makes the catch. Yankees again go 1-2-3. This time it only took Salazar 8 pitches to turn the trick. And you just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast. It's all brought to you by T-Mobile. For Cleveland here in the bottom of the 4th, Carlos Santana, Jerry Sands, and Giovanni Urshela. The Indians had him loaded with 1 out in the 3rd, but Chris Johnson banged into an inning-ending double play, allowing CC Sabathia to get off the hook after he walked 2 batters in the inning. Low, ball 1.
Well, the Indians had a little heat on CC last inning. He was able to pitch out of it with the big double play ball. A couple of walks in the inning.
Down in the dirt.
He's always pitched well against his former team, 4-1 in the 294, but this is a team that he really doesn't know anybody on anymore.
I wonder if that matters. I'm sure it has an effect, but for Sabathia as a pitcher, I would think it's the surroundings. You know, you go out here, you just feel comfortable. I know this place. I had a lot of success here.
You grew up in this place, no doubt. It has nothing to do with who's in that uniform. I mean, you come back, this is home because you played here for so long.
Close, just missed. Another time where Sabathia thought maybe he had a strike but didn't get the call. There have been a few borderline calls.
He came in after the inning and talked to David Rackley before. That's a good pitch. He questioned him on that 3-2 pitch to Lindor. He wanted to know where it was, and he said low. I could see it from here.
Santana fouls that one off.
He's got Santana caught in between today.
The payoff pitch. Smashed the bat, and he still muscles it into center field.
Well,
the shard barrel ended up about 3/4 of the way toward third base.
Yeah, that one took off. That was a bad piece of wood right there. But it goes down in good terms. It goes into center field. Look at that. I mean, right down. He had the whole bat in his hand. Just half the barrel flew. Really weird. Bad wood. But it's into center field for a leadoff single. So other than Ramirez, he had 2 hits. CeCe didn't know where the barrel was going. He was ducking.
Yeah, when you end up close to 50 feet away from home plate and you see half the bat going one way and a ball going, you don't know where it's headed.
Yeah. You duck.
In the dirt, gets away, and down to second alertly goes Carlos Santana. So the tying run into scoring position again for Cleveland on the wild pitch.
Well, let's go. It's in the dirt. Let's take a look. Well, he didn't move his body. He just tried to pick it. That time, you know, a lot of times you'll move with that pitch to try and short hop it. His body stayed, and he tried to pick it with the glove, and it's hard to do.
Jerry slowly chops one to third. Headley cuts it off, flips it to first. Santana goes to third on the play. So thanks to the wild pitch, that almost works out like a sacrifice bunt. And now the Indians need a fly ball to get them home. Our Levin Furniture Player Profile featuring CC Sabathia, who was the Indians' first-round pick in 1998, and 3 years later he was in the big leagues. The All-Star accolades 6 times his way. 2007, he was the Cy Young Award winner, and the Indians hadn't had a Cy Young Award winner since 1974.
It was Gaylord Perry. Yeah. And then the very next year,
Cliff Lee followed it up. And then last year, Corey Kluber. So Indians have had a very impressive run with starting pitchers.
Yeah, in the last, since 2007? 3 of them. Here again, the young hitter going after that first changeup with a man on third, infield in.
Broken bat right at Gregorius. So Urshela can't get him home.
2
2 away.
changeups. You're seeing the youth of this team come out now against the veteran who's not going to give in and give him fastballs. And he's making his pitches when he has to. He goes changeup again, down and away. Not a good pitch to swing at if you're trying to hit the ball in the air with a man on third. But he helps him out, breaks his bat. It's out number 2, and Sabathia a chance to get out of another inning.
Abraham Almonte flied to right back in the second inning. Out of play.
Weekly bounce to first, and Teixeira will take it himself. Well, the Indians have been knocking on the door, but they can't kick it open. 1-0 Yankees through 4.
Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
The Yankees lead it by a score of 1-0 as we roll on to the 5th inning. The only run, a solo homer by Brian McCann in the 2nd inning. Fastball strike to Carlos Beltran, who walked immediately following the homer by McCann in the 2nd inning. He's the last Yankee to reach base. To center field, Almonte is there. 1 down. Our injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. And Koji Uehara on the DL for the Red Sox. Howie Kendrick with a hamstring goes down for the Dodgers. Jose Fernandez, a very talented pitcher for the Marlins, also on the DL, as well as Angel Pagan of the Giants. San Francisco started the day 2.5 back of the Dodgers in the NL West. Didi Gregorius.
He had a big swing and had a nice pitch to hit his first at bat. Flied out deep to right.
Fouled back.
You know, Salazar's been pitching well for the Indians. They haven't been able to score him a lot of runs because, you know, his last start, he left with a leading 3-1, and the bullpen gave up that game. Last game in Anaheim, and then he left the game before that tied 1-1.
To left field, Aviles will make the grab, 2 away.
He's getting a lot of outs on some fly balls.
Tomorrow night we wrap up the series in the homestand. Trevor Bauer will go for the Tribe. Nathan Eovaldi for the Yankees. Our coverage begins at 6:30 with Indians Live. First pitch 7 o'clock here on Sports Time Ohio.
Yeah, and then it's on the road for 11 in 11 days. Minnesota, Boston, New York, and a makeup in Chicago.
Chris Young struck out his only time up in the 2nd. That snaps a string of 8 straight strikes thrown by Salazar. That one took off. And just like that, after all those consecutive strikes, he's 3-0.
That was like Klober in his last start. What do you have, 4 times 10 consecutive strikes in that start? How about that?
4-pitch walk to Chris Young. Snaps a string of 10 in a row, retired by Salazar. And brings up Stephen Drew, who went down on strikes his first time up.
That's 5 straight. So now, I mean, this is the part of the lineup you want to attack, especially when you're throwing the strikes like he was. And then it's 4 straight to Young, and now falling behind Drew.
Well, occasionally we've seen it this year. It's that 4, 5, 6 innings, that middle period of the game,
yeah,
where he can run into trouble. Just why and how is anybody's guess. Lindor coming in from short to offer some encouragement. And Salazar has just simply lost it after a strike throwing machine the last couple of innings.
A lot of times you see Perez go out there and say something, but he stayed behind the plate. He's the one that normally goes out there.
Pulls it foul. How to play. Foul ground, and Urshela gives it a look, but it's out of play. Toronto continues to pace Oakland 10-2. They're in the 4th inning. The Yankees know that if they don't win tonight, their grip on first place will slip, because Toronto's probably not going to let that lead cough up. Chris Colabello had a 3-run homer for the Blue Jays in the first. Justin Smoke a 3-run homer in the second.
Yeah, right now the Yankees are worried about ending their losing streak right here. They can look no farther.
Swing and a miss. Drew goes down swinging for the second time tonight. 5 Ks for Danny Salazar. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th. It's still New York 1, Cleveland nothing. The RBI softball team that won the RBI World Series in Texas last Sunday was presented with a nice tribute.
Congratulations to each and every one. What a great deal.
Andrea Scally was named the championship game MVP. She struck out a dozen, gave up 2 hits over 7 shutout innings, and at the plate she drove in 2 with a single and a double.
Yeah, how about that? And pitching-wise, they were 7-0 down there.
Yeah.
She was 5-0 with a .22 ERA. So how about that?
And 54 punchies.
Yeah, that's terrific. Congratulations. Cleveland Indians charity supports a lot of that. Could be no happier for them to bring that world title back here. Terrific.
If you're interested, coming up on August the 30th, so that's a couple of weeks from now at 11 a.m., the MLB Network will have a 30-minute documentary about the softball portion from the RBI World Series.
August 30th. That'll be fun. Good to watch.
2-0 pitch to Roberto Perez.
See, they get into hitters' counts and they get really aggressive. There was a pitch that I think was out of the zone. You know, you could be sitting 3-0. You know, they've done that a lot tonight. You really want to reel in your strike zone when you get ahead in the count and force them to get in there. Don't help them out.
3-1.
So he goes inside. Let's see what he comes here. 3-1. Will he go with another fastball? I'm thinking his changeup is his bread and butter.
That's where he's had the most success tonight.
And now going through the second time, these guys should see that. They're all right-handed hitters. He's pitching them a lot the same way.
Goes to the curveball, and Roberto Perez lines it to right field for a base hit. It's going to be cut off by Beltran. But the Tribe has their leadoff man aboard for the 3rd consecutive inning and for the 4th time in 5 innings tonight.
Well, Perez stayed on this baseball on a 3-1 count. He got that foot down in a hurry, and he takes the pitch the other way. Good job. Didn't try to pull it. A lot of hits that way. So there it is, leadoff man aboard. Now Aviles, who lined out to right center where Gardner made a nice running catch in his first at-bat, finally getting his second at-bat, and it's the 5th inning.
Well, Aviles looked like he was going to try to push one by the mound for a hit, but the plan averted. It's strike 1. Foul right back. 0-2 the count. Sabathia over 80 pitches, as you see there. Nobody out here in the 5th.
Well,
Yankee
tonight
bullpen, it was so exhausted they made a couple of moves before the game, adding 2 new pitchers, a lefty and a righty.
Yeah, they're only 1 for 7 with a guy on base tonight. 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So CC has made his pitches when he has had to.
Slowly chopped to third, but foul. Told you earlier, the Yankees starters gone 14 consecutive games without getting at least 7 innings under their belt, and at this rate, Sabathia is probably not going to get there tonight either.
Catches a break. McCann couldn't hold on.
1-0 Yankees. We're here in the bottom of the 5th. Tying run at first for Cleveland. Shoots it foul. CC tonight has been like one of those old veteran football defensive units that bend but don't break. He's let him drive up and down the field, but he's kept him out of the end zone. Tribe has had traffic in all but one inning. As I mentioned, leadoff man aboard 4 out of 5. Right back up the middle. That gets through. Perez stops at second base, and the Indians have their first 2 aboard for the first time tonight. Boy, he didn't hit it hard, didn't get much of it, but he got it just where he needed to get it.
And placed perfectly. Once it gets past Sabathia, it gets up into center field. Nobody playing there. They were playing at double play depth, so Avila's battled, fouled off some tough pitches to stay alive, keeps it going. It's 5 hits, now all singles. Yankees have 1 hit. That one left the ballpark.
And Jose Ramirez is already 2 for 2 tonight.
He'll be bunting here.
5 hits in the series. Teixeira Headley in at the corners looking for that bunt. Popped it straight up, but back, and no play. You don't have speed at second base, so it's got to be a very good bunt. Otherwise, the Yankees are going to try to get him at third.
But you don't worry about CC coming off. He's not going to make a play. He's not a good fielding pitcher. So you force a third baseman. They're going to with the wheel play. And you see, they're going to have to go to first. So beautiful. Even though you don't have good speed, you can't put pressure on yourself as a bunter to make a perfect bunt. That's when you fail. Get it down. This is where the wheel play, where the second baseman holds the runner on, and then all of a sudden he breaks to third base. He's going to cover. So if you bunt it to third, Headley would have turned to make the throw because you have a slow runner. But instead, it hits the plate. The catcher's got to make the play. He has to go to first base. So another sacrifice. Well done. Now, second and third with 1 out. They're going to keep the infield back. They're at the corners now. They'll tuck them in. They'll bring them in, and they could come home.
Francisco Lindor walked his last time up to load the bases. Similar situation here. Outside ball 1. And you recall in that at bat, Sabathia thought he had Lindor struck out, but didn't get the call. Lindor wound up with the walk on a very good long at bat, 9 or 10 pitches, and then Chris Johnson grounded into the inning-ending double play. 90th pitch of the night for CC. Line drive, base hit right field. Perez scores the tying run. Avila stops at third. Lindor delivers.
I got to tell you, this kid, after he swung at his strike 2 in his last at bat, he ended up working the walk, but he came right up here and he stayed on it. He made the adjustment. He goes the other way. This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Well done. There you go. You pick that pitch. You take it away. Get the base hit. You drive in your run. You move the runner to third. You have a tie game now. Nice adjustment there by Lindor. And keep the line moving. You give Johnson an opportunity now, first and third.
Johnson 0 for 2. He struck out. And, of course, hit into the double play last time up.
This is where he has to make his adjustment. He didn't.
Double play ball again. That'll get the Yankees out of the inning. But the Indians come back to tie it 1-1 through 5. defense. Gio Urshela with a tremendous play from foul ground at third. And he got one of the fastest Yankees on the field in Brett Gardner.
Yes, he did. It's not easy to go away from the play, elevate, and make a throw that is on line to get a guy that can get down the line. That was fun to watch.
And Brett Gardner will lead it off for New York here in the 6th. He's 0 for 2 and now 0 for 8 in the series. Danny Salazar at 66 pitches through 5 innings.
Yeah, his first time through the lineup, 39 pitches. Second time, settled down 27.
A little bit high, 1-1. And now Salazar jumps ahead in the count. Line drive and a base hit in the right field. Gardner aboard to start the 6th for New York.
Is this a changeup? If it was right down the middle, and it was down in his wheelhouse, and he gets a base hit. Just the second hit for the Yankees. But what this guy does, he can put a little pressure on your defense. He has some speed. He was thrown out last night by Gomes. He's stolen 15 out of 19.
Upstairs.
But I'll tell you what, when you get this guy Perez behind the plate, you don't lose much. He's a good catch and throw guy as well. He's nailed Billy Hamilton twice this year. You give him a chance and he can get him.
Runner goes swing and a miss, throw down.
Like I said,
in time.
Not even close.
Gardner erased.
That was like hit and run too. Maybe a little protection Headley gives him. But he was nailed by 5 feet. What a great throw. That's one thing, boy. The Indians have 2 catchers, and he had a good pitch to throw on. He got rid of that ball in a hurry. And he is nailed in back-to-back nights by 2 different guys. And this one was easier than last night.
Well, at least this time he didn't break his chain.
No, that's true. Maybe a finger, but not a chain. He was trying to sneak that in. A great throw. 37%. Anything over 30% for catchers is very good. And this is a backup catcher, guys. And even though he had an opportunity to play for about 6 weeks.
Wow. Headley goes down swinging. That's a half dozen Ks for Danny Salazar. 2 down.
This will be our Circle K strikeout. It comes on a dandy, another changeup, and you can see these boys cheating for that fastball. So after the throwout and that leadoff single, here you go, 2 outs, nobody on, and a chance to get your offense right back into the dugout.
Alex Rodriguez takes low ball 1. Rodriguez grounded into a double play to end the first. Fly to center in the 4th. He is 1 for 8 in the series. Off speed pitch had him fooled. 1-1. Low with a fastball. Belt high and an off-speed pitch that
that stayed
just
right
kind of
there.
floated right in there. Yeah.
I'm not sure what that was. I don't know if it was a breaking ball, his changeup, or what, but it stayed right there.
Fastball swung out and missed. Rodriguez goes down hacking. 7 strikeouts for Danny Salazar on the night. 1-1, middle of the 6th.
$12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets located in the new family deck here at Progressive Field. Log on to Indians.com for your tickets.
Bottom of the 6th inning. Carlos Santana leading it off. Takes low ball 1. Santana led off the 4th inning with a base hit. And so far on the homestand, when the Indians hitters are leading off an inning, they're batting .415 with 4 walks. And those guys have come around to score 9 runs on the homestand. Santana, you may recall, his last time up, had his bat split in 2 right down the middle, but he still hit it hard enough to get it into center field for a base hit. That's hit hard but foul. Santana pops it, foul territory and into the seats. It's like an old-fashioned stare down.
Well, you make them wait.
Santana swats it into right center field. Cut off by Beltran.
There's an adjustment there.
And another Indians leadoff hitter aboard.
Yeah, take advantage of it. Boy, he stayed back, and this is going to be our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. Nice. CC couldn't believe it. He stayed on the pitch. Did not try to pull it. Hit a nice line drive. I mean, right at where second base normally plays a lot of hitters.
Well, that's 5 out of 6 innings. They've had their leadoff man aboard, but only once have they been able to get him home. That was last inning. Here's Jerry Sands, 0 for 2 on the night. Yankee bullpen still quiet as Sabathia closes in on 100 pitches for the night. Sands with a ground ball single into left center field. Santana hits second, and he'll hold right there. So for the second inning in a row, the Indians open inning with back-to-back singles.
Well, third time through, Matty. They're 3 for 4 off Sabathia.
In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Brian McCann with a solo homer in the second put the Yankees on top 1-0. One of only 2 hits allowed by Danny Salazar. Indians tie it in the 5th on the Francisco Lindor RBI single. Rick, only 3 times this year has CC Sabathia gone over 100 pitches.
Wow, that's
I
hard
find
to believe.
that really hard to believe myself.
I do too. Well, there is somebody that just got up and started to throw their first pitch, and they were consecutive starts.
And this will be the first
6th, and the 11th.
Yeah, and this will be the first time since that game May 11th. That's
hard to. Yeah, it is for me.
But he's about to surpass the 100 pitch mark.
Well, when you start thinking about it too, with their bullpen, they've got some great arms out of that bullpen. So I can see how Joe Girardi says, "You give me a solid 5 and 6, and I'll turn it over." But unfortunately, in 10 of CC's starts this year, the offense has not generated a lot of runs for him. It's been 1 run or none in 10 starts this year. And you know what? They have one right now.
The 0-1 pitch. Chopped to third. Headley will go to second. It will erase the runner Jerry Sands for out number 1. Santana, the go-ahead runner, gets to third. And Urshela aboard at first on the fielder's choice. Here's a Mazda game break with Al Pawlowski.
All right, Matt, Rick, let's head up to Toronto. Blue Jays taking on the A's. Justin Smoke, his 11th home run of the year. This gave the Blue Jays a 10-2 lead. Now it's 10-3 over the Oakland A's in the 5th inning. Blue Jays going for their 10th straight win tonight. Fellas?
9 times this year, Rick, CC Sabathia has failed to pitch into the 6th inning. I'm sorry. 9 times he has not gone 6 innings, at least.
Okay. Well, he's 2 outs away, and they do have a double play alive, but they have a man at third and an opportunity to take the lead again. He's induced 2 ground ball double plays, both with opportunities to score a run, and he's looking for that again.
Almonte trying to give the Indians the lead, and he will. Scoring is Santana. Urshela stops at second. Abraham Almonte, his 7th hit for the Indians in his brief stint with the Tribe. They lead it now 2-1.
Well, he got a fastball, and he's a dead red hitter. That's the 4th hit, the 3rd time through. There it is, a fastball away, takes it right back up the middle. They're 4 for 6, the 3rd time through. They have the lead for the first time tonight. They have 9 hits, all singles. Still 2 men out there. And this could be CC's last hitter.
3rd time through. Started that 2nd time through the order, but this 3rd time they're really zeroing in.
Well, the big thing, he had the double play ball. That
saved him.
Yes,
twice
it did.
tonight.
It saved his bacon, no doubt about it.
Now Roberto Perez, who has walked, singled, and scored a run.
So they've taken advantage of, again, the leadoff hitter being aboard for the last 2 innings. But you want to add on. You want to get some more. You got to get greedy here. They had opportunities last night when they took a 2-0 lead. Maybe a defensive play, and they didn't execute when they had an opportunity to add on. You want to do it one more time when you can.
Two 2-1 Indians here in the 6th.
Okay, that's there's nothing you could do there. You don't want to swing at that pitch. Although it put you down 0-2. That was a pitcher's pitch. Change up, down and away. Perez, I don't think, liked the call, and he's letting them know. And I think that was a little low, he's telling them. That may have been the one Lindor got in the 3rd when he walked.
And now he punches him out.
See, now he's going to be upset. You can't give them both, he's going to say. One inside, one outside. You can't give them both sides of the plate like that, but CC gets the strikeout, only his 2nd. Let's look at both pitches, Matt, and see what you think. There's the changeup. Okay, it's down away. If you're going to give him that one, you cannot give him that one. That makes that plate about 20 inches wide as opposed to 17.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
As a hitter, you give him one, don't give him both. And he has a legitimate beef. But the bottom line is he's got to go walk back.
Yeah.
And he can't help his team out here, so it's going to take a 2-out base hit by Aviles.
I thought the strike 3 pitch looked like it was a pretty good one, but the strike 2 pitch.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Well, they're both not strikes. One of the two. Take your pick, but let me know. And, Perez has been behind the plate tonight, so he should have an idea what the strike zone is.
One and 1 to count as the hitters continue to guess the strike zone. Urshela is at second base. Almonte is at first. Even Sabathia at times has wondered where the strike zone has been. That's never a good sign when you got both hitters and pitchers.
Well, I certainly like the approach of the offense they've taken to Sabathia this 3rd time through. They've taken him up the middle the other way, whether it would be with the fastball or off-speed pitches. They haven't tried to pull anything. For me, on the inside part, you sort of fight off anything inside and you look away.
Normally that's the kind of approach Mike Aviles takes when he goes to the plate every time. That sort of, I'm going to work the ball to the middle of the field, take it to the opposite field. And every once in a while, he'll get a pitch and hit it hard to left.
Well, that's the mistake that pitchers make. When you have that approach, you're just quick enough to react to it. You don't try to do it. You're just reacting to and they make a mistake.
Low 3-1.
You see now he's just sitting back waiting. He's seeing that ball away.
This will equal the most pitches Sabathia has thrown in a game this year, and that was back on May the 1st when he went 110 pitches at Fenway Park.
Well, he has that extra day rest here today, too, coming into this start. So they need some length, and this is about as long as they're going to get.
Broken bat. It's short hop by Gregorius. Throw to first.
Wow.
In time, he got him to end the inning. That ball looked like it was in slow motion off the bat, but somehow Gregorius was still able to throw him out and end the inning. But the Indians had the lead 2-1. At mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Seventh inning, the Indians have a lead of 2-1. Danny Salazar, dangerous part of the order here. Teixeira, McCann, and Beltran. First pitch strike. Teixeira 0 for 2 has struck out, lined out, and 0 for 8 in the series. Right back up the middle, and that ball was smoked. His first hit in the series.
Yeah, that ball was down enough. He liked it. Let's take a look at the play that ended the inning with Aviles at the plate. He busted his bat and he hit that ball, and Gregorius, it had some spin to it, but he laid back and threw him out. You wonder why, because Aviles might have thought he was going to catch the ball before he put his head down and really started to run and was thrown out at first base. That one there will make you think. You know, you thought he was going to catch the ball, you didn't bust out of the box, and you're thrown out by a step. That's another nice play by Gregorius. He's made a few in this series.
He's been very good defensively.
Boy, has he ever.
Brian McCann, his home run, the only run of the night thus far for New York. High pop. The infielders are calling for it. Lindor says, I'll take it. And he does, one away. Our AT&T Uverse Rewind takes a look at some of the plays made by Yankee shortstop Didi Gregorius.
That was a beautiful double play right there. They turned going up the middle. This one was reviewed earlier tonight, and they overturned it. They called him safe. He was out. And then the last play, boy, he's quick feet, gets up. He's got a very good arm for what we've seen in this two-game series so far. And I think the toughest thing of them all, not thinking about his plays, but the shoes he has to fill coming in this year, having to replace a guy like Derek Jeter. That is probably the toughest of all, because those are expectations you can never live up to. Almost like trying to fill the shoes of Brooks Robinson when you're coming up.
Not to mention, he plays in the long shadow cast by the guy who came from the same country as him, Bert Blyleven. He's from the Netherlands.
Is that right?
That's hit hard, and it got by Johnson. Down into the right field corner. Teixeira doesn't run well. He'll get to third barely and stop there. But the Yankees have runners at second and third with only one out on a ball blistered by Carlos Beltran. Boy,
blistered is the good word for it, because they had the shift over there, and it didn't even look like Johnson could take a step. That was an off-speed pitch. Might have been a changeup up and away that Beltran gets the barrel head of the bat out and smoked it. Look, that was by Johnson before he knew it. But the one thing the Yankees can't run, if you can keep the leadoff men off, they're pretty much a station-to-station team. So now back come the Yankees, second and third, one out. Callaway going to have a talk with Salazar.
Well, the batter is going to be Didi Gregorius, who has flied out twice tonight, once to right, once to left. And after him, you've got Chris Young and then Stephen Drew.
Well, this is the guy, and I think that's what Callaway wants to talk about. You know, the infield will be back. You know, you're not going to play it in and let a bloop score 2 runs. So you play back, you give the 1 run because you have a 1-run lead. That pitch to Beltran, though, 0-2 pitch that he left up and he took advantage of. The 4th hit for the Yankees.
You said earlier when Gregorius flied out to right field that little man hit it. At 6'2", 205, he's no Freddie Patek.
No, he is not. 6'2", he just doesn't look like a big guy, like, a home run hitter. His job's going to be get on base.
Yeah. He's got kind of a big swing, though. I mean, he looks like one of those guys you used to call wiry.
Well, I think when you play in that home ballpark and you got that short right field porch, sometimes that could hurt you. As a young hitter, you may want to try and go for that. You got to have a good hitting coach that keeps you focused, because home runs will come with good at-bats. His job is to put it in play, and right now, hit a fly ball like he did in his first 2 at-bats to get a run home.
What a stop by Perez. That ball was in the dirt somehow. He picked it clean.
And I'll tell you, on the move as he picked it. Well done. That went down and in. He's got a battle with his feet. Looked like a hockey goalie just sliding across the goal, man.
Across the crease. He's got the hockey goalie mask.
Yes, he does. He's halfway there.
Popped him up right at the plate. Perez can't find it, so Urshela says, I'll take it. Salazar makes the grab.
You know what? You want it done, do it yourself. He does. I'll tell you what. Normally, you want another guy to get there. Perez never saw the ball. Usually, you want a corner guy to get it, but Danny was right there, and he didn't push him out of the way. So let's put it this way. At least the catch was made. Look at Gregorius upset, throws the bat. Perez can't find it. Here he is. He's calling for it. As a pitcher, you get out of the way. But you know what? He quit calling for it. He should have let him know again and kept calling it. Look at Perez. I see nothing.
You're going Sergeant Schultz on Perez? I see nothing?
Yes. I see nothing. I need help. All right, the big second out right there.
Well, Chris Young, the batter, has struck out and walked. And a foul right back on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Kyle Crockett getting loose in the Cleveland bullpen as Salazar's pitch count just over 90 on the night. Popped up, foul, out of play. Perez ran to the backstop, but no chance to get to it. Now this crowd sensing a key moment in the ballgame here in the 7th.
This really is.
Yankees have 2 on, 2 out. Indians lead it by a run.
Well, this is where you got to make your pitch. He had Beltran down 0-2. You got to bury this guy to get the 3rd out. Couple outs in the game where you really have to dig deep and get him, and this is one.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out. Number 8 for Danny Salazar. He keeps the Indians in front by a run. And we've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. CC Sabathia's night is over after 6 innings, allowing 2 runs on 9 hits. Struck out a couple. And he walked 2 as well. Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for left-hander Chasen Shreve, as Joe Girardi will stay with the southpaw.
Yeah, why not? He came in and pitched an inning, the 7th in last night's game, had 2 strikeouts and zeros across the board. So he ground ball to short. He had 9-1-2 in the order. He's going to get 1-2-3 in the order tonight. So Salazar, big pitch to get out of that inning. Second and third, 1 out, gets out of it. Still a 2-1 game, a lot like last night's.
Yep.
CC scattered 9 hits for the Indians, and all 9 have been singles.
Man, it's a strike to the outside corner. Sabathia equaled his season high with 110 pitches on the night. But now this is 15 consecutive starts for New York in which a starting pitcher has failed to get at least 7 innings under his belt. That ball's hit hard by Jose Ramirez.
Smokes.
Deep left field, but it is foul.
Boy, you don't see it jump off his bat like that very often. It had the distance, but you can see, well, foul.
He does have a home run from each side of the plate.
Didn't his right-handed home run come in Anaheim? I think. It was off of Santiago, Hector Santiago, code red.
Last night, the Yankee bullpen certainly got its share of work in. Bounced in front of the plate. Joe Girardi exhausted his bullpen. They had nobody left. And combined the 7 pitchers through 162 pitches.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you talk bullpens. Both bullpens were outstanding last night, having to go 16 innings.
Ramirez singled in each of his first 2 at-bats, then laid down a sacrifice bunt in the 5th. That led to the first run of the game for Cleveland. To the shortstop, Gregorius. 1 away. Coming up tonight after Indians Live, Jimmy Hanlon and Carling Nolan give us a tour of the Omni Barton Creek Resort in Austin, Texas, on 18 holes. That's tonight after the postgame show right here on Sports Time Ohio. Francisco Lindor knocked in a run his last time up with a base hit to right field. Trying to go that way again, but this is out of play. Time called. And just a bit outside to even it up. The change up, and it's bounced to short. Gregorius on the run flips it to first, 2 away.
Well, once again, tomorrow night, come on back. This series will close out with the Yankees, but it's going to be Dollar Dog night again. You can get Dollar Dogs all night long, and the hot dogs voted the best in baseball. Go to Indians.com for your tickets.
Chris Johnson steps in 0 for 3 tonight. Base is empty and 2 down. And looks at ball 1 low and away. Checked. It's called a strike. And a count even 1-1. Toronto continues to lead Oakland 10-3. They're in the 7th inning at the Rogers Center. That game's important from New York's standpoint. If they go down tonight, they'll be out of first place. And down goes Chasen Shreve. He quickly rolled to his feet and tells everybody on the Yankee bench, "I'm okay." I think he lost his footing and maybe lost a heartbeat more than anything else.
It skipped off him. I don't know if he got leather on it or it deflected off maybe his shoulder, but that got on him in a hurry. Watch this. It hit him.
It did hit him. Yep, you're right, Rick.
I just don't know where. He said, "I'm okay." Oh, shoulder.
Pitching arm.
Yeah, off the shoulder. Watch him. "I'm okay." He's scared. I'll tell you one thing. Watch this. This is a good. Just grazed the top of the shoulder right up there, boy. Whew. Very lucky.
You can see Johnson.
If that was an inch lower, that would have been flush and solid.
Just as Johnson left the box, he kind of inched his shoulders up as if to say, "Oh no."
When you're a hitter, that ball it takes just a fraction of a second, and that's right near his head. That was awfully close. That's a scary situation if you're a pitcher.
Santana swings through it. Carlos has had a good night at the plate. 2 for 3, 2 singles and a run scored. The thing I like is that his first base hit shattered the bat, but it was up the middle. Second time up, stayed on a breaking ball and rifled it into right field.
Don't you wish he could bring that to the plate every day? That's the pull swing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
on the
just as you said that.
I know. But that's what you try and get Carlos. It's for him. He's got to decide. The Indians now with 10 hits. They've gone, 4 consecutive games here with 14 or more hits at home.
Going back to the
Kansas City game.
Yeah. Oh, he rings him up. Santana can't believe it. Well, we've had a few of those tonight. 7 complete, 2-1 Cleveland.
Indians.
Two-one Indians on top. We go to the 8th inning. Danny Salazar has gone 7. He's given up just 1 run on 4 hits.
Still in good shape. 93 pitches.
Ball 1 up high to Stephen Drew, who has struck out twice. Cody Allen is up in the 8th inning, getting loose.
Well, it was Shaw that had a busy inning last night that threw about 30 pitches. So he's normally the lead-in, so he may not be able to come in tonight. So he may stretch out Cody if anything happens, hopefully.
Slowly chopped up the middle, and there is Francisco Lindor, 1 away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And Danny Salazar did a terrific job getting out of a big jam in the 7th inning. 2nd and 3rd with only 1 out after this double by Carlos Beltran. Then he gets Gregorius to pop it up, takes it himself. And then he does it himself against Chris Young.
Yeah, right there. Comes a time where you need a couple of big outs in the start, and Danny was able to get them.
Brett Gardner's only hit so far in the series in 9 at-bats came his last time up. Right down Broadway, 1-1. That's too high. 2 balls and a strike. Three and 1. Fouled back on a fastball from Salazar, so a full count now. You got Chase Headley on deck, then potentially Alex Rodriguez here in this 8th inning. So this becomes an extremely important pitch for Danny Salazar and the Tribe. Fouled back.
This has been his first full count tonight.
Missed outside, and he walks him with 1 out. The switch hitter Headley coming up. Mickey Callaway and Terry Francona talk it over in the dugout.
Well, looks like Mickey's going to go to the phone. And they're coming in here, and they're going to let him face Headley. Three over on the right side.
Out of play. One ball and 1 strike. The way it's unfolding now, you have to figure this is the last hitter of the night for Salazar. The 1-1. Up high. 2 balls and a strike. Francona starting to pace anxiously in the dugout as Salazar works himself behind in the count after he walked Brett Gardner with 1 out here in the 8th, and the Indians leading by a run. 3-1.
Well, he's starting to get deeper and deeper into counts now. He had his first full count to Gardner. Ended up throwing him a 3-2 changeup where you probably want him to throw the fastball to make him earn it and not walk him.
Well, you certainly can't just groove one here. And he knows that. Went right at him with a good fastball. Full count. He ran this one in, no swinging room.
See, they wanted it away, but I'm telling you, that was a great pitch, way in.
Sometimes you miss and make a great pitch,
right.
as you said earlier.
Perez was sitting away, and you could see how far he missed it, but I'll tell you what, it was an effective pitch in there because he wasn't looking that far in.
Fastball away. And the 110th pitch of the night is high, ball 4. So he's walked back-to-back hitters. And now you've got Alex Rodriguez coming to the plate.
Yeah, that's just late in the game, Danny. I don't know if he's tired or what, but he was overthrowing a few pitches. He walked 5 in the game. But the last 2, you don't want to walk 1-run ball game. He has 1 out, and Tito's going to come out and make the move to Cody Allen.
Well, he's put him in a very tough spot. Salazar walking back-to-back hitters. A valiant effort through the first 7, though, for Danny Salazar. He'll leave after 7 1/3, and the Indians clinging to a 1-run lead.
Very good start for Salazar tonight. Changeup, a very good pitch for him tonight, getting the strikeouts. Always is after the command of the fastball, but that changeup he loves. Gets a lot of strikeouts with it. He had 8 on the night. But unfortunately, late in the game, he ended up walking a couple on that changeup. But he had some very good strikeouts at the right time and located that changeup very well.
Well, as you pointed out, that great strikeout to end the 7th inning was huge with runners at 2nd and 3rd. But here in the 8th, after he got the first man, the back-to-back walks have really set the table for the Yankees. And so Cody Allen has to come on for a multi-inning save as he goes up against Alex Rodriguez, who's 0 for 3 tonight, 1 out of 9 in the series.
You know, when you think about it, you come back, they only had 8 hits in the 16 innings. They have 4 hits tonight. So anytime you give them free passes, it can help them. But they have handled this offense very well to this point. Their only run tonight coming on a solo home run back in the 2nd inning.
Cody gets a strike in there on an off-speed pitch to even the count of 1-1. Oh, what a pitch. 94 on the inside corner, and it's 1-2.
Well, you like to throw A-Rod that fastball, and when you do, you get it in there. He has a tough time catching up with it now. He likes the ball down. So if you can pitch him in at the belt and above, it's very good. There is good speed at second base with Gardner. Well, that's only the tying run. The one that you're worried about, one at first base.
Now the 1-2. Fastball got a piece of it. Quick conversation as Cody will go back to work here. Breaking ball and a foul back.
Well, this is when you're ahead in the count. That one, boy, stayed up. That's one you may want to bounce with 2 strikes to A-Rod, even though the runners are on base. Perez will get that body in front of you. You don't want to leave one up. Speeds up his bat, but he fouled it off. There you go.
Chopper to short. Lindor to Ramirez on to first. Double play. Inning over. Cody Allen comes in and throws a big bucket of water on a potential Yankee rally. For the most part, they did that until that 8th inning. But the double play ball got him out of it. And the Indians did not get to CC Sabathia early, but they did drive his pitch count up, and he was out after 6 innings, allowing 2 runs tonight.
Yeah, that third time through against CC, they made the adjustment. And they had 6 hits, so it's still a 2-1 game, though. Nick Goody coming on, and was just, recalled today. See his numbers from AA, AAA. He has Sands, Urshela, Almonte, the scheduled hitters.
One out of 3 on the night for Sands. Pitch up high, ball 1. Goody was a 6th round pick 3 years ago out of LSU. A little bit low. Just did catch the outside corner. Breaking ball swung out and missed in the count 2-2. Breaking ball over the outside corner, and Sands watched it go by. And a strikeout to start the bottom of the 8th. Baseball back on FS1 this weekend. Angels, Royals, Nats, Giants. Saturday on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Indians defense has been outstanding on the homestand. They've turned 6 double plays on the ground. In terms of the infield, they've had a line drive that was turned into a double play. The only error they've committed defensively was by Zach McAllister on, I think it was a pickoff throw to first.
Yes, it was.
Fouled right back by Giovanni Urshela, who is 0 for 3 on the night. Jose Ramirez, his second tour of duty this year with the Tribe, has done an admirable job filling in defensively at second base for Jason Kipnis. And he's really raised his game offensively this second time around this year as well. If you missed it last night, it sounds like there's a chance Jason Kipnis could rejoin the club on this next road trip when the team heads to Boston. So they've got 3 in Minnesota to start the road trip. Then they'll head to Boston for 3 before going on to New York for 4. So maybe sometime in that Fenway Red Sox series we'll see Kipnis back, but we'll have to wait and see. I know he's anxious to get back, but you know, he knows you want to come back and feel like you can help and you're not hurting the cause, too.
Well, yeah, look, he came out. He was having a tough time throwing. He was out hitting today. You know, when he went on the DL, Francona said he thought he could still hit. So maybe they'll ease him back in as the DH.
Right side, but fouled on the seating area. Well, he's supposed to try and throw tomorrow. And that'll probably be a big telltale as to where he's at and how far he has to go.
You wait and see how it feels afterwards, and then you go on from there. Well, look, the way that guy, the kind of year he's having, you want him back, and you want him back as soon as he can, when healthy.
With one out, Giovanni Urshela awaits a 2-2 pitch from Nick Goody. Way outside, full count. Not a play. It's going to be the 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up here. Breaking ball spun up and in. And Urshela is aboard with one out. Abraham Almonte broke this tie in the 6th inning with an RBI knock up the gut. It plated Carlos Santana and gave the Indians a 2-1 lead. His second hit in the series. Seven for 18 since joining the Indians. A pleasant surprise indeed, and he's also been very good in center field defensively. He's made all the plays he's had to.
Well, that's the way you certainly want to start when you're getting an opportunity with a new ball club. This first game, 4 hits. I don't think you could script it any better than that.
Here's the 0-1. And he cut it in on him, and it just disappeared. 0-2. That's the pitch, you know. I wish the average Joe could have an opportunity to just stand on the box one time. And, you know, I mean, anybody could, with a fastball, you might be scared at first, but after a while you can flip the bat out there and maybe foul off a fastball. But that slider, that back foot nasty slider coming down and in, that make you want to think twice about ever stepping on a baseball field again.
Well,
at this level I'm talking about.
At any level, that's what kids can't hit. When, as you're a kid growing up, you know, you may be able to hit a little bit. First, if it's fear of the baseball. Next, it's when they start throwing breaking balls and they can do something with it. That separates the men from the boys. And this guy, man, he throws a lot of breaking balls, a lot of off-speed pitches. You know, and when pitchers throw good ones as hitter, you can't hit them. I mean, you know, most of the time when you get to this level, if they're a good breaking ball, you know, when they hang them and they make mistakes is when the ones you have to hit. But you have to make your living on fastballs as a hitter.
Fastballs and mistakes, as it was once explained to me. Nobody makes a living on a 3-2 slider on the black.
No, you just
can't
hit it. And a lot of times when you get to that situation, when you talk 3-2 or you talk runners in scoring position, it's hitters get themselves out more than pitchers get the hitters out a lot of times. You know, you give up an at-bat or you get yourself out. But, boy, if you hang them, they can hurt you, and they go a long way. There's a fastball, 91, and it's a show pitch. It was for a ball, but it backs him off the plate, and he'll come right back probably with an off-speed pitch. There it was. It was away and missed.
Well, this will be the 20th pitch he's thrown, and this is only the third batter he's faced.
Well, that's why he's been in the minor leagues at AA and AAA. Has a tough time commanding everything, and I haven't seen a lot of fastballs, a lot of off-speed pitches. Another one.
Hit off the end of the bat to third. Headley throws out Almonte, 2 down. Urshela in the scoring position. And up comes Roberto Perez. Perez walked in the third. He singled and scored in the fifth. Was called out on strikes back in the 6th inning. Anytime it's a one-run game, anytime, especially against a team like the Yankees, that becomes a huge insurance run out there at second base. Teixeira, McCann, Beltran due up for New York in the 9th. Hit to third. Headley fields it cleanly and throws him out.
Good play.
So we head to the 9th. 2-1 Cleveland.
Save. Jensen, what's tougher, trying to get that 5-out save, pitching in the 8th inning or the 9th?
It's definitely going to be this inning, because now emotionally you've got to find a way to get that adrenaline back. Very emotional, AB, to get A-Rod and get that double play. This is the toughest inning.
Indians Live after the game, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Now back to Matt and Rick.
Cody Allen will try to finish it off. He got the double play ball to get out of a sticky situation in the 8th. But now in the 9th, he's got Teixeira, McCann, and Beltran, the 3 big bashers for New York.
Yeah, I agree with Jensen right there. He got the big double play in the 8th, but now it's still a one-run game, and he's got 3 guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. So this is going to be the toughest inning right here. The record's scoring 2 runs or less. The Indians are 9-32 in 2 runs or less, and Allen has 7 saves. The Yankees are 4-30. And in 2 runs or less, and CC has 4 losses in that situation. So
the 0-1 swung out and missed. He couldn't hold up.
There you go. Good look from the side. You can tell A lot easier that way.
Oh, just missed with a fastball. Above the belt.
It's a good pitch, but it is a ball. But it's a great pitch because that's a tough pitch for a hitter to lay off when you have 2 strikes.
Breaking ball, rung him up. Oh, what a curveball by Cody.
Well, when he has his curveball working, Matt, we've talked about it, how good it is, because with those 2 pitches, that's down and away. Good bite to it. He couldn't pull the trigger. You see the spin, the rotation to it. Just a great pitch. Tight, hard-biting breaking ball. As it is right there.
Comes back over the inside corner with one to McCann. The only run of the game for New York on a McCann homer in the second. Oh, and 2 the count.
I'll tell you what, 2 nasty pitches right there.
In the dirt. The 2-2. Swung on and missed, but it gets away. Perez has to hurry. Long throw. Hit him in the back. Oh, what a bad break.
Well, if he was inside the box, it's fine. And I think that's what Tito's going to come out and ask the umpires. If he was on the inside part of that line, it's fine if it hits him. If he's in fair territory, that could be interference. And he's talking to the home plate umpire right now about that. There was really no other angle that Perez had. He had to grab it and throw it. He still had time if there was a clear pathway, but I think he was on the foul side of that line. It was a breaking ball that got away. It would go down as a strikeout, but it would be a wild pitch. Well, he's pleading his case right now, and John Hirschbeck is slowly walking in as Tito's going to leave. But I think he was in foul territory, Matt, going all the way. He was, no question. Let's see. It's close. Hold on. It hit him right there. Boy, he was right on the line, but it hit him before then. And you can see Reed Johnson's eyes. As he was, you know what, when you're running down the line, you see that first baseman having to reach back. You're going to go that direction. But nothing they could do about it.
Boy, oh boy, what a bad break. He gets the strikeout, but a runner's aboard on a wild pitch. John Ryan Murphy is the runner for McCann at first base.
Well, we got timeout. We got a hat or something on the field. Ball boy's going to have to come get. Well, that makes this game interesting. Tying run now is on first base after a strikeout.
Strike called. It's 0-2. Whether or not John Ryan Murphy runs better than your average catcher, you have to wonder about the availability of Jacoby Ellsbury, because he would seem to be the logical guy you'd want to run.
Well, makes sense
in this situation, but maybe Joe Girardi's just got him completely shut down tonight. 0-2 pitch to Beltran. Fouled back. Swinging a foul. No balls, 2 strikes. Here in the 9th. Smash to left field, but right out of Elis.
Boy, he
2 down.
smoked it. Hit that ball right on the nose.
Well, it's Didi Gregorius against Cody Allen with 2 down in the 9th, and the Indians leading it 2-1. Murphy, the runner at first base. Down low, ball 1. Gregorius had 3 hits last night, but 0 for 3 so far this evening. Last time up, Gregorius hit that pop-up right in front of the plate with runners at second and third.
And Salazar came in to catch it.
Swung on and missed. Boy, Cody Allen has had a wicked curve here tonight. The 1-1. Swung on and missed.
Yeah, they're just swinging over the top of it, and you're right. Why not stay with it? It has been outstanding.
18,844 roaring in approval now as Cody Allen tries to finish it off. Struck him out and the game is over. Cody Allen nails down his 23rd save of the year as the Indians beat the Yanks for the second night in a row. The final tonight, 2-1 Cleveland. Danny Salazar gets his 10th win of the year. He's 10-6. The loser, CC Sabathia, goes to 4-9 on the year. With the win, the Indians have won 4 straight and are now 53-59. The Yankees' losing streak is 5 straight, and they fall to 61-51 on the year.
Well, Cody Allen, his first 5-out save of the year. The Indians win their 10th game when they score 2 runs or less. They are now 10-32. That's a lot of wins with 2 runs on the board. They were able to hold them off tonight, and they run that win streak to 4 in a row.
Well, it's our Pat O'Brien Chevrolet play of the game. Cody Allen came on in the 8th inning with 2 on and 1 out. And Alex Rodriguez at the dish.
Just what you ordered, a ground ball. They're able to turn it easily. I figured he'd either swing through it or hit it in the air, but he hit it on the ground. The second double play turned by the duo tonight. And well done to get out of that 8th. And Allen comes in and just cruises in the 9th.
Well, another terrific pitching performance by the Indians as they win it 2-1. We'll be back with some final thoughts right after this.